Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Anime Podcast. So in this podcast, what we're going to do is, or in this episode, what we're going to talk about is the final episode of the final season of Attack on Titan. So we're not talking about the actual final episode, we're talking about the final episode of part 1, which is the episode 16 in terms of season 4. This launched a couple of days back, like day before yesterday. So we just had a rerun of that episode because it was one of the really classic or really cool episodes, but also, the episode what I feel is legitimately one of the best episodes, but at the same time, it's one of the worst episodes to have at the end of season finale. The way it ended with a cliffhanger, the way it had so much intense drama as well as tension onto it, we would have enjoyed it a lot more if it was in a mid-season rather than a finale, because now we have this insane cliffhanger that we have to wait like a whole entire 9 to 10 months before the second part comes out, right? So firstly, how did you think about the episode? What are your first impressions on the episode?
Coming to the episode, though it is a cliffhanger and though we have to wait for a long time, but there are certain points that we've observed and each point gives you a lot of insight about how the writer and the director have come together and given a twist to the plot. A lot of scenes which might have missed for the naked eye, but once you have a rerun, you find a good number of pickup points, on which you can talk about. So I guess we'll be running about on those points.
Yeah, that's the thing about Attack on Titan, right? Because the entire plot is filled with so much detail that, on a second run, on a third run, you start to pick up things that you did not notice in the first one. For example, I was watching, rewatching the first season after, the season 4. And throughout the first season, you can see Reiner clearly having sort of like, a mental breakdown. He's finding it difficult to sort of like differentiate between what is a soldier and what is a warrior, because the people who fight against the Titans in the Paradise Island are called as soldiers, right? And the people who train to become a Titan, inherit the main 9 Titans in the Marleyan side, are called as the warriors. Yeah, so you can clearly spot the difference when Reiner says a warrior or when Reiner says a soldier. Those sort of like really amazing details that the writer planted like 8-9 years back, even in the first season, those start to come up when you actually start rewatching the series. So what you said is absolutely right. So Attack on Titan is sort of like this incredible anime which gives you more in terms of when you rewatch. It has a really good rewatchability or something like that. Yeah, so what are the main things that you found? Sort of like, what do you think is the key highlight of this episode?
The key highlights, there are a few points in the beginning of the episode and the ending which are, much debatable points. Because in the beginning of the episode, you see Zeke on the grounds after he has pulled out the Thunder Spear, and then there's the Titan which comes to save. So here the point is, how is Zeke alive after a big hit? Is it because of the regeneration capacity of a Titan, or is there any other breakthrough from the breaking the Thunder Spear? And how did the Titan come, and why did it not eat him and save it? Something like that. So that is the beginning, and the end where Galliard has come, the Jaw Titan, the way he was positioned, the way he was signaled. So these are few points that you can clearly see, and then much debatable. And there are many other points like Peak talking to Rabi and about their
the Marleyan side of things,
right? And was it the ultimate truth that she had in her? Was it her real feeling? Was that truth really given to Rabi, or was it just to deceive Eren and show her loyalty?
Yeah, so coming to these points, like the way you talked about the beginning. Firstly, before I get to your point, one thing is that the anime is really cruel because they did not show what happened to Levi. That was a cliffhanger that they left in the previous episode. I thought they would clear it up if Levi is alive or not, but that's something that they left over. And coming to the Zeke part, it's really interesting to see, how Zeke survived the Thunder Spear. He was basically torn into 2 pieces. You can see he's only that upper torso just lying around in the grass, and fantastic visuals as always. You can see his last dying moments. So what I think is Zeke surviving could be a major props to the Titan powers that he has. I personally think that, and the other Titan which came in helped Zeke. So I think that reason why the Titan did not eat Zeke, and the reason why it sort of stored him inside it, and the reason why it tore its stomach apart is primarily because if the Titan eats Zeke, because since Zeke is a beast Titan and he's one of the 9 Titans of Ymir, what could happen is the Titan could transform into the regular human being, and the beast Titan power could have been gone to that Titan. So I think since the Titan's purpose is to sort of serve Zeke, I think that's the reason why it came in. It's helped him, and it did not eat it. It did not eat Zeke, but as well as stored him inside his belly.
Yeah, when you see, audience might not realize that the Titan had followed Zeke's orders. The audience might think Titan has no brain. It finds a human, it will eat it. But in this place, if you observed keenly, in the previous episode, the Titan was holding Zeke in her hands and was running away. So that was Zeke's creation. So it was completely under his control. That is where I guess it had come to save Zeke instead of to eat it. And at the same time, when we were talking about Levi, and the creators have given a cliffhanger there about what happened to him. At the same time, when the Thunder Spear burst, Hanji and the whole team was ready and focusing on that sound, and they did not even show whether they proceeded towards the sound or they were going to the place where they were supposed to.
Yeah.
Was it a rescue for Levi, or did he jump out of the cart? There is nothing of that, and Levi is such great character that we would not want to miss.
Yeah, so leaving the episode, leaving the 16th episode on such a big cliffhanger is one thing, and just not letting people know if Levi is alive or not for the next entire year is an entirely different thing. So that's how AOT is. It's set up sort of this beautiful series of cliffhanger episodes, right? And just to add on to the Zeke part, have you noticed, while Zeke is sort of in his final breath before the Titan comes in, he sort of has this vision of a small girl. Did you see that?
A small girl, I guess I missed to notice that.
Yeah, so the Zeke has a vision of a small girl, so it sort of appears for a brief second. So it's a small girl. It's kind of I don't know the age of her. I think she's around Gabby's age. She has the hairstyle of similar to Armin in the season 1 sort of thing. She has a headband around her head. So that is a vision that Zeke sees. So far we haven't, the writers haven't yet explained or haven't shown her. I think if I remember correctly, I think glimpses of her image were shown in the previous season's ending credits or kind of ending songs. I don't know for sure, but I feel like I've seen her somewhere. That is one thing I think you should notice. Yeah.
I guess we have to rewatch that scene and also visit the other post-credit scenes so that we can get to know what the glimpse of the person is, who is it, or if there's anything related to it in the manga.
Yeah,
check out.
And also one more thing, I saw people on the internet point out that season 3 ending song, the visuals in the ending song sort of they have a couple of glimpses that are going to come out in season 4. Right? So the image of Falco. So these are how he's. There are a couple of images of Falco in season 3 ending, right? And also, I don't know if it's season 3 part 2 ending or season 3 part 1 ending, but there was this mysterious, really weird ending at the end of one particular episode. The ending goes on smoothly, and at one certain point, it switches up, and this bizarre montage sort of a thing, right?
Correct.
And I think now if we slow down the montage, analyze different aspects of it or different frames of it, I think that we're going to sort of we can piece together a lot of information that the writers planned a lot of time ago.
Exactly. The way they have placed it, the timing and everything is fantastic. And Attack on Titans is such great anime that I have not seen any other anime in this way put so methodically and giving you all the information earlier but not giving it to you.
Yeah.
Leaving you on the cliffhangers all the time but still giving you the answers. For which you have to be keen, observant, and link every dot.
Exactly. So, like, for me, the top two anime at this point in time are, one is Attack on Titan and one is One Piece. Both for their storytelling. But the reason why I love Attack on Titan so much is the pacing at which it moves. Right. Even though the anime has 4 seasons, and when you compare it to One Piece, it's basically like a small, what do you call it? A small special. That's it, right? But even in the small amount of time, the writers were able to pack in so many details. Props to the directors as well. It's difficult enough to come up with a story such as this, but it's even more difficult to portray it in a way that people, as the audience, understand, and also still leaving a lot to interpretation. Right? It's a beautifully crafted masterpiece.
Exactly, as you said, my top lists also have One Piece and AOT, and of course, One Piece is another Marvel wonder that we can talk about, and we're sure that we'll come back to the audience with a new episode on One Piece soon. Coming back to Attack on Titans, this 16th episode, if you've observed the title, the name Up and Above does it have a significance in the whole episode. I particularly feel that the last episode where soldiers from Marley come in the airships, and the Jaw Titan comes from below and he jumps above. So I think that's where they want to show up and above, be cautious.
Got it. That's okay.
So what do you feel about the title?
For me, I do want to talk about the titles because I had a different interpretation of it. The title being Above and Below. So what I felt is, this particular episode focuses on 2 different situations. One situation being Eren and Eren, Peak, Gabby, all happening sort of like at the top of the building, and the other situation happening with Armin, Yelena, and other stuff. Right? So that's how I interpreted it, because there are 2 primary scenes that they were focusing on. The top of the building and the basement of the building, so above and below. But I could be totally wrong.
No, but still, even 2 of these almost relate to the same title. So maybe the whole season or the whole episode relates to the title. We might have to observe a bit more clearly.
True, and just like you said, Attack on Titan sort of like has a lot of ongoing themes as you look at a couple of seasons, because circles is one thing that keeps coming back. The circle of revenge, or the circle, or how they portray it, right? Sort of like how Reiner and the crew attacks Shiganshina in the first season. These guys go out and attack Marley, and then they come back again and attack. So it's like this, circle of events that keeps repeating, or the chain of events that keeps repeating in a circle, right? So if we sort of like look at seasons in a lot more philosophical way, I'm absolutely sure there are lot many nuances such as these that are just tightly packed into it.
Correct.
Yeah, and coming to the one thing which I'm absolutely going to miss about at AOD is the intro song, right?
Marvelous. This season has the best intro song.
Right? And the reason why, I have a couple of reasons why I love the intro song so much, because one, it doesn't get boring, right? For the first 1 or 2 times, you were a bit, for me at least, it did not register it that well. I thought I was going to skip it by the 3rd episode, but for the 3rd episode, I was so in groove that I never skipped the intro song after the 3rd episode. And one more thing is, I love how the intro doesn't reveal anything. Like if you see, luckily if you haven't seen the trailer before you watch the season 4, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I saw the trailer before I watched season 4, and the trailer spoils a lot of stuff. Like it spoils the Warhammer title. I don't know why they had to include it. Maybe it is to build hype, obviously, but still, the reason why that intro song works for me so well is because it doesn't reveal much. When you compare it with other animes, especially in terms of like Naruto or One Piece, the intro song has the best bits about that arc.
Exactly.
Right? It sort of like spoils and it ruins that imagination, right?
Right.
It is sort of like to create, I mean, at least it is sort of like this utility to create suspense or mystery around it, which I think the season 4 for intro does it absolutely well. Because we as an audience, we were left with Eren, Armin on the season 3 part 2. Like we had no clue who Falco was, who Gabby was, or what even Marlians look like. Right? I mean, apart from the Grisha part. And so we are coming in entirely blind with the season 4. And to introduce it in such a way that, it's such a fresh perspective. And I think having an intro song that is as ambiguous as this sort of like the opening is, I think it's sort of fits it very well.
Exactly. And it all shows about, blasts, marching, soldiers marching, and the background score also says "My War." It just says that you're at war. Until and unless you watch all 16 episodes, you don't understand why is there that music or why is there that intro put in. Because now when you've traveled 16 episodes, you see that there's war after war after war. Either it is on Marley's side or it is in Paradise Island or between both of them. So it's a fantastic job there again.
Yeah. And going a bit further into the episode, did you notice one thing while they were showing a couple of scenes in the basement with Armin and crew? Did you notice that Mikasa was no longer wearing the scarf?
Yes, I've seen that, and I was utmost shocked. Then I realized how Eren had hurt her, and then told about that stuff, that she was a slave. So that was one part, and then I kept thinking, did Eren actually hurt them or was he protecting them?
Yeah, that's exactly what John points it out as well, right? With Coney and Armin. But one more small thing which I noticed is Coney sort of doubts Eren in this episode, but this is sort of that has been happening for the past couple of episodes.
Correct.
If you see Coney's behavior through this entire season, he's sort of having a small bone to pick with Eren. He's always concluding that Eren has gone totally batshit insane. Now he's just a lost cause basically.
Yes.
Right? It's good to see that Armin and John are the two people who haven't yet totally given up on Eren, whereas Mikasa and Coney are a couple of people who are so hopelessly that they're so hopeless that they are fuck this.
Never would I imagined Mikasa giving up on Eren. That was impossible for me to imagine. But the last 2 episodes were totally against my imagination. So.
So the way they phrased it, right? The entire conversation around the table with Gabby in utter pure terror.
And having no idea what is going on and what... She was under complete pressure and traumatized.
Yeah.
What next? What should I do? Why am I here?
That scene is an entirely different beast. It's a beautiful scene.
Beautiful scene, and the way Eren brings out, the mind control part, that who is actually in control, that gives a mind freeze.
Absolutely. And speaking about that, one more thing which I noticed that has been a bit common in this particular season, which is I haven't seen this happening in the previous season. Maybe I have forgot it. But in the 4th season, you have a lot of really cool entrances. It's almost like a Bollywood movie at this point in time. The first reveal to Reiner about Eren, that was a cool entrance. The second at the table scene, Eren coming in, that's an amazing entrance. The another entrance of Peak in the season 16, that's an amazing entrance. Right? The season is entirely packed with twists and turns with amazing cinematic pieces.
Crazy. There's one more entrance of Galliard as the Jaw Titan, and before he enters the scene, before he turns into a Titan, there is a small part where he's seen. People might have not observed. I personally didn't observe, where you pointed out, this is that person. Then that was also, he was like a mix and match of the crowd.
Yeah, while Eren was escorting Peak to the top of the building, she waves high, right? And also one more thing which I saw people pointing it out on the internet, which I also missed, is in the previous episodes where Flock is sort of asking people to beat up Commander Keith. In the background, Flock had a couple of soldiers, and in one of the soldiers resembles Porco very much, Galliard very much.
Yes.
So I think that is something that they planted, but we would not keen enough to notice it. But once again, like I said, the seeds that they are planting,
they're amazing.
Awesome. And so one more thing, while we're on the topic of Eren and Peak, especially one particular gripe I have about this particular episode is how dumb Eren has been portrayed. Right? Up until now, they have shown like, Eren has this huge master plan. He has everything under control. He has Flock under control. Like how he sort of like, worked with Zeke to create this entire rebellion, right? The Jaegerists. And how Zeke's insane master plan of providing or drugging everybody with the wine of his spinal fluid and then having everything under control in one fell swoop, right? Like so far in the first 15 episodes, they did a fantastic job at showcasing that Eren is this entirely different beast on its own. Like he has this entirely different plan on his own, and he's orchestrating all this small events that ultimately give him control, right? But the end of this episode, I mean, it feels way too dumb. Eren feels extremely dumb. Like his actions don't make much sense because when Peak asks him to take him to the top of the building, that makes no sense for him to escort him there.
Exactly.
Because Peak being a Titan, he would have at least predicted it, right?
Right.
Like one thing is that they pointed out that he doesn't trust her, but at the same time it's a dumb move to take her.
Correct.
And one more dumb move which I personally hated is when Peak was sort of like giving Gabby this sort of lecture of how we have to change. The change itself is so immediate that Eren should have picked it up.
Exactly.
Peak changes her entire dialogue in 5 seconds. She's like, hands up, now you're mine.
Yeah.
To no, I'm here to seek
She
your
also
help.
asked Gabby to pick up the rifle
Yeah.
and point at Eren, and then she says, "No, put it down."
So it makes no sense for Eren to sort of believe her and follow her to the top of the building. I think that's one small gripe I have about the episode.
And it's laughable that the whole episode, Eren is shown ready with his hand and a cut. You say something and I'm going to turn into a titan. That's the only thing he's done in the whole episode.
But one thing, it's like Eren and Ryder have become suicidal at this point.
Yeah.
They're like just waiting for opportunities to cut themselves.
Exactly.
Alright, so and one more thing we were talking about before the start of the episode is the truth in terms of Peak's words, right? So when you mentioned that they might have hold some truth or something that she inherently believes in herself, the words which she said to Gabby, I think she does believe a bit of that stuff. And at the end of the episode as well, when Gabby asks her, so you did not betray us? So she's like, I don't like Marley.
I might not trust Marley, but I trust my friends.
Yeah,
Yes.
the people who I fought along with, right? So it's like, I think all these people, even Peak as well, they're at the conflicting point at their lives, right? How they are trying to understand situations from a different perspective as well. I think they're at the point of coming to terms with it, like how Gabby has been forced throughout the entire season to understand a different perspective. That itself is an amazing thing. I think we should have a separate episode about Gabby as well, because Gabby is one of my favorite characters this entire season.
Because that age which
Yeah.
she is in, and to take up so much.
See, a lot of people have a lot of hate for Gabby because she killed Sasha. That is understandable totally, but in terms of when you look at it from the character's perspective, I think that's where you sort of connect to that character.
Yeah, because she was always taught that aliens, bad aliens are the demons. It could be anybody, even if it is a titan or not.
And Sasha killing people right in front of her did not even help that back.
Exactly.
Right? So she was sort of cornered at that point in time, and like a cornered Marleyan warrior, she shot.
Correct.
Right. So let's have a separate episode about Gabby.
Sure, we'll do that for our audience.
Yeah, because we have it because I think Gabby is a character that we can discuss a lot about, the changes or the circumstances that she's been through for the entire season.
When they were talking, when Elena and the party was talking with Amin and everybody on the meeting near the bars, I have observed this behavior of Yelena, how pure and mature she acts when Grease starts speaking bad about Sasha, and she just shoots him in the head. So that's where she respects the person. She shows that she trusts, and she shows her loyalty as well there.
Yeah.
That's a good point that I liked it very much, that part.
Yeah. One more thing is that her behavior absolutely changes right? From from like the way she has been portrayed in the previous episodes to now, this speech or this particular conversation that she has with Armin and others, it feels a lot more genuine.
Exactly.
Right? Like how when Armin is sort of like crying about, I did not know you had such noble intentions.
Exactly.
You can see her be feeling appreciated, right?
Exactly.
That's a strong connection that she forms with Armin. I think.
And she also shows that, the expression shows that finally somebody believes me and
Yeah.
I am doing right or something.
Somebody understands
what we are trying
right?
to do.
That's genuine. That comes across very genuine.
Exactly.
And also Armin crying, that was totally out of character.
I felt it sarcastic sometimes.
I don't know if that is something that could be revealed earlier, or it
Could be.
or it is just this, Berthold being a pussy.
Because he was always there in every episode crying.
And Armin also being some sort of this, a feminine character. Both of them joining in like a Power Rangers robot.
Fusion of Dragon Ball Z.
And one more last point that I have about this entire accumulation of this series is that AOT has set itself up in such a way that now if you want to explain the story to somebody else, you can explain it in 3 different perspectives. Like you can start off with Eren's perspective, obviously that's the way that we've been shown. You can start off with Reiner's perspective.
Correct.
Even that works out well. Or you can even start off with Zeke's perspective.
3 different forms, and
Right.
everybody has their story, which is actually true.
Yeah. So and the way it sets up all these 3 storylines is also in such a fantastic manner that you cannot question anybody, or you cannot say this person is inherently evil.
Yes.
Right? It justifies their circumstances, environment, and their actions. So at the end of the day, you sort of understand why everybody is doing what they're doing. So you become this sort of like a spectator in this huge barrage of consequences and actions that you just can't do anything else rather than just watch.
Exactly.
Right?
That's where Zeke, when he pointed out his parents, Grisha and Diana, when he points out that these are the people, these are the culprits, and then we were scolding and we were all angry with Zeke. How could he turn them in? And now coming to the actual story, when we get to know what actually happened, why he had to turn them in, and we find it, he did something good.
Yeah.
So that's where 3 perspectives. I guess we should talk about it. And even Gabby's perspective is also a part, though she was not there from the beginning of the first season, but she also has her own perspective, and which is true.
Yeah.
It all runs about in and around the complete revenge cycle.
Exactly. And also, I think one primary thing that sells Zeke's story is, because Eren had 3 seasons of runtime to showcase his perspective. Reiner had at least 15-20 episodes to showcase his perspective. And Zeke only had one episode to showcase his perspective. And the reason why it works so well is because his exchange with Eren.
Exactly.
Like how emotional he becomes once Eren calls him brother.
Correct.
Right? I think that's one particular point. That one point, as well as with Mr. Xavier. I always have difficulty in terms of pronouncing
names.
Yeah. So, but I think these 2 perspectives are very strong emotional points that allow Zeke's story to be connected with the audience, right? Even though it's for a very short amount of time. And since Grisha and others that we've been following for a couple of while now, I think it sort of all ties up together nicely.
All in all, this episode was a great cliffhanger, and it's given a lot of points to observe and to contemplate what could be next. See, the next episode itself will be a big fight. That's clearly evident from the end, but how they fight or what grounds, what comes up, we might not know now. It may be this way also, that Reiner has come to help Zeke again, because there might be some different understanding, because they were working since 4 long years together. So Zeke might have given them some instructions, or maybe they really believe him. You cannot just fixate that there's going to be a big war and then somebody is going to win, and then they're going to meet Zeke in the end.
So it's all about defying expectations, right?
Exactly.
So like it's amazing how we could not even predict one part of where this was going. Like that's how intense it is. Like even at the end of season 3 part 2, all that is left, like nobody even saw the perspective of Marley coming in.
Of course, it was because it was almost like a good happy ending. They come to the sea and then we've seen the sea, it's done and everything. And then the last line which Eren speaks. Now there are actual enemies beyond the sea, but we never knew that they would really go there.
Yeah.
And he would go there as not even telling anybody, as run away.
Yeah.
And then revealing himself like, no, I am the hero here. That was something great. So let's see. Let's wait for
full year.
1 full year. We have no other choice. Even if you read manga, you would not experience the whole quality of AOT productions. And I guess MAPPA has done a great job this time.
Absolutely.
Given the time frame which they had.
So talking about MAPPA, one small thing which I would like to add is, in this episode, all the Titans were completely 2D animated. So that is one thing I think absolutely people should notice, because I've seen a lot of people complaining about the 3D CGI. I know it's bad. I also feel that it's bad. But the thing is, also one more small thing is, it's not exactly the fault of MAPPA. In a way it is, but it's not entirely, because MAPPA is not the one who is animating the 3D Titans.
Exactly.
So they gave that work is offloaded to another company called as VSign or something. Right. So it's the job of VSign to sort of like work on the 3D Titans.
Correct.
And in a certain way, I cannot be like, it's entirely their fault as well, because Kodansha has given them such a small time frame, right? Like 8 months to animate 16 episodes, and taking the workload from WIT.
Exactly, because taking it from some actual running company and starting afresh is big, because you have to create all the resources and everything. And hats off to WIT and the other productions, because first 3 seasons of AOT had lot of scenes, lot of fights, lot of massacre, and everywhere Titans and this 3D maneuver gears and everywhere. This season had a lot less of the stuff, and then still it was on CGI. That hurt fans' sentiments, but ultimately they had no option because there was no time.
So there was no time, and also with COVID coming in, I think that too.
Yeah, that hit big.
Yeah. So, but at the end, they did deliver. They showcased what MAPPA could do with 2D animation, which was glorious. Like the way, how smooth the entire animation felt with Eren's Titan, with Galliard's Titan.
Exactly.
It looked pristine, like the best of all episodes, right? And one more thing is, going forward, there are certain rumors that the 3D CGI Titans are not going anywhere. Like they could be back for part 2 as well. So let's talk a lot more about that in terms of a different episode. Let's discuss about the animation styles as well as the Titan stuff, because there's a lot of controversy and a lot of people have mixed feelings. Like a lot of people, I feel like they don't understand both perspectives.
Exactly.
With Kodansha and WIT and as well as MAPPA. So I think talking about that might also spread a little bit of light in terms of that matter as well.
Exactly. And coming to the end, we would ask our audience to come up with points if we missed anything on this episode.
Absolutely.
And then we could discuss on it. Or if they have different observations or different interpretations of what we've already spoken here, then that's much appreciated.
Awesome. So that's it for this particular episode. It was a lot fun in terms of not only watching this episode but also discussing it. So you guys, if you have any sort of thoughts or comments or suggestions, please do reach out to us. Do let us know, because that's something we would absolutely love. Come discuss AOT with us in the comment section below. And that's for this one. So we'll look forward to a couple of more episodes talking about not only Gary's perspective but also about the Titan animation as well.
Great.
Alright. Signing off.
Sayonara.
Take care. Bye bye.